Hey everybody, welcome back to another session of Relationship Wednesday. So we're going to pick up from where we talked about last week. Of course, we still have our same clothes on, so it's the same day. We just, break up our recordings, of course. So I don't want you to think that we left and we came back and wear the same clothes. We're still recording the same day. And so anyway, I just like to make that note. Sometimes I used to watch shows and I'll see people say, like, what they do? They would, then I realized, oh, they don't do that. But anyway, so we picked up last week about how, which is actually for us is today, but last week for you all, that we talked about the just understanding how to navigate the difference between friends and brothers and sisters. Because I just think that a lot of times you say love is patient, love is kind. It does not, if it's not rude, it doesn't act unbecomingly. See, a lot of times we can feel like somebody's acting unbecomingly because we didn't recognize the relationship. Meaning that, I thought we were going to be, friends, but understanding that sometimes what happens is people, usually when you're a brother or sister, it doesn't have to be equity in the relationship because the brother and the sister are there to undergird the other person. So a lot of times the inequity comes in where the season of help is over, but now you try to create and be friends from something where it was just supposed to been in their life to help them, and then now you feel like, oh, then you got all of these things like these struggles and these battles and the offenses and all these issues going on because we have taken a relationship outside of what is grace for. So therefore now we have all these extra problems now. And then now we're accusing each other of, it's just all about you and this and that. How you say it's all about me? But see, the problem is we are accusing people off of something that's not the right relationship. And so I just think that the more we can be clear on that, and I get it, I'm gonna tell you something. What I'm talking to you about, I've gone through plenty of School of Hard Knocks on this one, where the people I was called to help, I made friends. And once the help was over and things began to change, then a lot of people got mad at me because they felt like I should have been doing more. But the brother sisterly, type of relationship where you're helping was over. And then now they're like, why don't you call as much as you used to? You ain't doing this much. But the thing is that I guess, we don't announce it. It's just that you kind of step in and you help, and then you form bonds and you have conversations. Just part of the nature of when you're helping somebody in the season. You just start sharing life together because you're right now y'all are sharing life as far as what you're going through. Mm-hmm. So in the sense of it takes on the personality of a friendship, but the reality is it's still just a brother-sister dynamic in the sense of I'm here in your life for a season to help you, not really so much to actually be your friend, even though in that type of dynamic, that season, it can take on the form of a friendship. And so when things change, now I'm getting accused of not being a good friend. And we can understand that. And I guess I've been there and I've seen that happen so many times. And those were rough because it was almost like all your good things you did was totally misunderstood now because of the expectations of just how those things happen. Because, a lot of times you don't step in and be like, all right, I'm going to help you. I'm your brother, sign this contract to let you know here are the terms and agreements of how this thing going to work. Like we don't show up, saying that. Right. We just step in and start helping and it just happens. And then when it's like starts happening, we pull away. It's like, what's going on? Mm-hmm. Then we mad, what I'm saying? And again, and so that's what it says, a friend loves at all times. So there are certain people that could be your friends where y'all don't talk all the time, but when y'all do talk, it's almost like y'all never stop talking.
Right, you pick up from where you left off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but those are your friends though, because there's equity. In other words, you got people where we're both doing but we realize that, we're here for each other at all times. So not just for adversity, sometimes even good things are going on. We'll just check in and say what's up. And we may even talk maybe 3 or 4 times a year. But a lot of times, those are your friends. Why usually your real friends, there's equity in the relationship. Meaning that if I don't call you every day, I'm not mad at you. I may be in a season where I do talk to you every day. Right. But then there may be a season where I may not talk to you every day. but I'm not upset with you. Like, it doesn't bother me that you don't call me every day. But when we do talk, we have great time. Those are your friends. Like, those are the people where they were never in it for what you can do for them. They were in it in what they could do for you. So that's why they never get mad at you, because they were never in it for what they can get out of it. They were always in it for what they can give into. In other words, I'm checking on see how you doing, and that's all that matters. So a friend loves at all times. That's what that's all about. See, brothers don't work that way. I'm only calling you when there's a need, not really so much just in all that. So therefore, the dynamics of that gets tangled up, and where now we're all of a sudden we're at each other's odds, not realizing that's what it's all about. So, but at the same time, when those things happen, you gotta let that stuff go, move forward. Don't get mad. Just be, just understand for what it is. Because sometimes, like I say, I realize that a lot of times there isn't a real case of always saying that everybody's bad. Sometimes it came off as them being bad because the placement was bad, in the sense of you were a brother, not a friend. You was a friend, not a brother. A lot of times when we put people in the wrong places, a lot of times it comes off like they're bad now, because we're harboring feelings that we shouldn't have, all because I put an expectation on you that you weren't designed to have in the first place.
Right.
So then it creates all these issues. So now, love, it hopes or failures under all circumstances. I can't even see the good in you anymore because you didn't meet the expectation of the category I put you in. But maybe, just maybe, we weren't supposed to be in that category in the first place. That's why I'm mad at you.
Right.
Because I'm gonna tell you something what I feel like about God, and this is something God showed me. I don't know if I shared it with you, but I'm gonna read this to y'all. This is in Genesis. There we go. This is in, let me see. So I gotta find it. This is in Genesis. Let me go see 13. Genesis 14. See if I can find it, man. Okay, so the point I'm making is this. Is that God says our days are fashioned before us. Also, he talks about how he has people that are scheduled to be in your life for seasons, people that are scheduled to be in your life for the long term. Meaning that if God didn't grace them to be in your life and you try to make it fit, it's always going to be problems. It will always be a struggle. And so I wanted to see if I can find this. I can find it easier on my in my Bible. But anyway, so let me tell you the story, and I'll come back, and I like to give people scripture reference for it. It's in Genesis. So God told Abram, "Get out of your family, your father's house, to a land I will show you." He still took his father with him, and he still took his nephew Lot with him. And it said that as they begin to go and increase in substance and things, it says that Lot's people were always getting mad at Abraham's people. Like it was consistent, continual strife in the camp. What you found?
No.
It was continual strife in the camp. And so Abraham said, let us just depart from one another so that way we can, take away the strife. But why? Because Lot wasn't supposed to be in Abraham's life in that way. Now, when Lot was in trouble, Abraham went to help him as a brother would. But on the level of riding and rolling together in a level of friendship, it became problems. Offenses rose up. They had issues. They said, let us separate so that way we don't have to have this continual strife amongst one another. And so now we can see that why did the strife rise? Because God told Abraham, Lot was not supposed to go with you. So because there was no grace on the relationship, it had a hard time working through the differences.
Genesis 12:1.
Genesis 12:1? Mm-hmm. No. That's about getting out, but the conversation with
with Lot.
Yeah, Lot. So anyway, my point I'm making is that usually Because nobody is perfect, meaning that we're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to miss it. Nobody's going to do everything right every single time. And so, but the problem is that when God's grace is on it, God graces you. It's something like a parent with a child that loves their child. You know your child's not going to do it, but for some reason, you know, there are parents that just always never can see their kid doing anything wrong. They may have to help them work through things, but they still see the best in them. Mm-hmm. That's a grace. That's something God given. I'm saying, like in friendships, in relationships, whatever it may be, that people have to understand is that you got to go with the grace on the relationships. If the grace is not there, it's just not going to work. And that's what I found out, like in everything, like me, you know, overseeing a church and everything. I realized that everything has to be done by grace. In other words, if God didn't call you to be connected to Word Alive, I don't care what I do, how much work I put into it, it's just not going to work. Because God has to grace. God has put something in you. Why? I'm not going to be perfect. I'm not going to do everything right. But there'll be something where God will help you see my heart beyond my shortcomings, ups and downs, where you know that I'm a man after God's own heart and I want to do the right things. But God has to let you see that. That's the grace. That's not anything I do right or wrong. Because I'm trying to tell you, I will let you down. I just want to give you a heads up. I will let you down. But if there's a grace on that, God will be able to help you see, wow, it's not what he's doing is the problem. In other words, I still see God using him, even though he may not be perfect in everything he do. Right. So like my pastor, you know, he almost lost his marriage. I could be like, well, if he was such a man of God, then that should have never happened to him. But because God graced me a part of his life, it doesn't matter. Because again, it's about, I remember when God told me, like, this is the person you're supposed to be connected to. So it really had nothing to do with it. It's the grace there. That's what I'm saying. Even in friendships. In other words, you're not in their life because they're super perfect or they glow in the dark. You're in there like something God put in you saying, I'm supposed to be connected to you. I don't know what it is. That's something with God, it just does it and it just works. So even though we may make mistakes, we may miss it, all that, but because God's grace is there, we can work through the offenses. We can work through the strife. We can work through the differences because the grace is there. But usually when the grace isn't there, we have a hard time working through the same exact stuff because of that. And usually that's what really with friends who loves at all times look like, meaning that I'm in it for you. And so a lot of times when they'll be like, you know, you're supposed to be my friend and you stab me in the back, you see that problem was they were your real friends. See, you assumed they were. That's why you got mad. See, you see, friends would never do that. So that's what I'm saying. Friends would never stab you in the back. And if they do, it could have been like a talk somebody, show oversight, and you would know that. Like, okay, that wasn't them really trying. It was just a conversation, something happened, and you knew it was fine. But you know, there may be some people, usually, who could be like partners or brothers, because they were never in it for you. They were in it for what they can get out of it, because that's how brother-sister relationships work. So in other words, I'm not in it to help like for a season, but at the end of the day, I'm in it for like, meaning when you're in it to help people. See, this is what I'm trying. This is the danger of making help your friends. Meaning that people who need help, they need help for a reason. And so a lot of times you have to realize that they're not there for you. You're there for them. So meaning that you're sharing information with them as a friend, and then they go out and actually put your information out there and put it up because they were never in the relationship for you. Right. They were in it for them. So, because that's what help is. In other words, you're there for them. So you have to understand that. So you didn't recognize these are people you were called to help. So like Jesus even said, he said, y'all get my gift, but y'all ain't getting me. He said, don't get it twisted. You get my gift, not me. So for example, when you go to work and you wonder why people at work talking about you, that's probably because you share information with them they shouldn't have. And again, you were there to give them your gift. You wasn't there to give them you. That's the problem. You went to your job looking for friends, and you're supposed to go to your job to give them your gift. Mm-hmm. Right. And you got hurt because you miscategorized. And you assume all these people are supposed to be your friends, and that's why you get hurt by those things.
Right.
So any thoughts on that? Or I guess
well, you really said it all.
Yeah, because I could be, chatting away, and then, you may have some thoughts on it.
I don't actually. You said it all.
Yeah, and so love is not self-seeking. It's not, and that's what I'm going to talk about now. Coming out of that, where with the eros and the agape, and I just think that is so interesting. Let me see. I wanted to So now, and that's the thing about when it comes to like intimate relationships and those things go to the next level. Because the problem is, let me rephrase the word. Let me use a different word. The challenge is being able to navigate the person I take to on an intimate level. Are we sex partners or are we friends taking it to a level of a partnership? Because that a lot of times we don't know the difference. See, meaning that, for example, you can have a sex partner. What is a sex partner? Like, let's look at it in terms of business. I'm strong where you weak. You're weak. Well, in other words, we can help meet each other's needs. Right? 1,000 put 1, 2 can put 10. Like partners. That's what partnership is. It's to help make up where the differences are. Right? So when you have a sex partner, meaning this, the dates and the conversations are always great as long as you hold up your end of the partnership. So now we're going into it kind of being self-seeking because I'm going into it to what I can get out of it, not what I can get from it, what I can add to it.
Right.
Because that's the nature of partnerships. Because partners usually go into it for win-win, meaning that if I'm going to join this company and give you my gifts and talents, then a lot of times I need to pay to reciprocate the level of what I'm adding to it. It has to be a win-win. If it's not a win-win, I'm not here on loves and hugs and kisses.
Right. Right.
I'm here because, we can reciprocate, but once somebody on this side, let's say we got to deduct your pay. Oh, well, you're not getting my gifts no more. It's over. Why? Because it was never like I'm only going to add to it as long as I'm getting what I want out of it.
Right.
And that's like with sex partners. In other words, we'll do the conversations and everything as long as we're having, the sex partnership of it is great. But if that starts going away, then I got to start moving on to something else because I never went into it for you. It was really all about what I could get out of it. And that's the part. And with a friend, usually, and that's why I heard another minister say this, talking about relationships, and I thought it was so good. He said that, they always look at, people being in the friend zone as a terrible thing. But sometimes you need to understand, for any real relationship to work, you got to become friends first.
Right.
And then your partnership has to be built on the friendship. Because a lot of times we build the friendship on the partnership. So once the partnership go down, the friendship, because there was no real friendship. But if the friendship was there, then now all we're doing is becoming partners to pretty much do life together on the friendship that was already there. So even if you lose everything, I'm still with you because I was never in it for what I can get out of it. I was always in it to what I can add to it.
Right.
And that's where the dynamics is and where we have to realize how we got to be careful of that. And I just think that we go into it, single people, when we're single and we're dating, a lot of times we look at our own things that we want. I want to be married, I want a companion. When we go in to get married, we don't look at what we're going to add to it. Right. A lot of times we're looking at, I want somebody to love me. I want somebody to do this for me. I want, all that kind of stuff. Right? So that's where we go into it. Yeah. So and a lot of times that's our mindset. But that's what the whole agape part of it is, to make the eros work. Where we got to go into, because agape is all about, it doesn't seek its own. And so we have to understand, for partnerships, you can seek your own. Certain brother-sister relationship, you can seek your own. Like, you can have that rule to that. But when it comes to like marriage and real friendships and friends, you have to build it on the platform of agape. Meaning that I'm not in it for what I can get out of it. I came into it because I want to add to it by grace, like something God put in. So we're now, even if you can't do this for me, I'm still here. So like, for example, most women say, as long as my man has a job, he's doing what he's supposed to do, then I'll stay with him. But if you lose that job, what is he saying? My friendship is built on the partnership.
Right, yeah.
And so the guy say, yeah, I'll stay with, as long as the sex is good, you do what you're supposed to do, then I'll continue. So in other words, it's like everything's built on the partnership. Once that stuff break down, then now the friendship goes with it, because we were never friends in the first place. The friendship was always built on the partnership. And that's where it gets dicey, So you want to add anything to that part?
Sure. especially on the marriage part, yeah, if you go into it just wanting to take, that definitely doesn't last. Yeah, so you have to definitely have a mindset of, I'm here for you. I mean, that's what the vows are. Rich or poor, sickness and health. I mean, people don't listen to those anymore, but they should. That's the vows are right there telling you, you're in it no matter what happens. You're in it to the end. Death do you part. That's what that means. Death do you part. And sometimes, there's we see different things. We think of sickness and disease. We think in sickness or health, you're just thinking sickness of your body getting sick. But sometimes it could be an addiction. Something that's a sickness. I mean, are you going to leave the person because that's a sickness? You're supposed to be helping them through that.
That's what real friends do. But
Yeah.
because it's a partnership, you're not holding up the end of the bargain.
Right.
Then now, I can't help you with this because you're not. In other words, you're not being a good partner.
Right.
Because the partner is you're not giving me what I want, so I have issues with you.
Right. Especially if the other person is trying to do better, whatever. You can't just assume that, oh, well, no, that's your sickness. You have to deal with that addiction or whatever. No, that's on you. When you get married, you're one. That's your addiction now too. So you have to help each other out. So yeah, friendship, marriage, that's about helping each other. So you definitely have to think about that. Think about those vows. Really think about what you're saying. That's a covenant,
so
a
I'm
commitment.
to push back. So I hear you on the vows, but I feel like the vows would be easy if you go into it already looking to serve.
Right,
But I
yes.
think the vows are hard, and you got to think hard about it because you're going into it being self-seeking.
Right. Well, don't say the vows. Yes, you're supposed to already know when you're saying these vows and you're saying I do to these vows. You're going in there saying, yes, I'm in it for that person. I'm coming in it to do this. Both of you are supposed to be having that same kind of mindset.
Right. Yeah. No, I get it. So I'm saying, but for me, I feel like, so I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying, like, with the listener, like, I don't want them to take it like, like think about what you're saying. I agree, but I really feel like it's you being clear on what the relationship is. Are you really in it for them? Are you in it for you?
For you, right.
Because I feel like the vows is just really a representation of what you really
Of what's
into.
in your heart, yes.
Right. But usually if you've been in it for you, then a lot of times, yes, you got to think about what you're really saying. Because I
Right.
really feel like, now you got to be able to work something up that you really never had no desire to be really in the first place.
Right. Because you got to think about it. I mean, most people, when they get married, they're, vibrant, lively, looking great, whatever, all that. But this is going to go for years, and you don't know what's going to happen to your partner or whatever. You might have to carry them on your back around. You don't know. So you have to think about all of these things, that you're in it no matter what for that person. I'm willing to do whatever.
Yeah, but that's why I would add to it. I really feel like that's not your decision to make. In the sense that I feel like God graces people for that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because I feel like that type of love doesn't come with your own strength.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Because again, I don't think nobody can work up that level of self-sacrifice unless God graced me to do that. So we got, okay, give me like a couple more minutes here. And so I want to say this to you and then to everybody to really help bring this in. Because, one of the things we look at, dealing with self-centeredness and going into it for myself or whatever. Or even like, we always talk about, why men, cheat and step out and do extra stuff, whatever, right? And usually it's because they went into it for them. They didn't go into it for the person. It's almost like because I'm not getting everything I want from you, I got to go get it from this. You know what I'm saying? That whole thing. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I want to finish off with this scripture. And I just think that here is like a good antidote to being able to navigate all relationships, no matter what it is. And I've taught this on a Sunday. So what I'm about to tell you is not anything new. I'm just going to put it in the context of what we've been talking about for these relationship categories. And in reference to walking in love and just trying to see how love can play itself out through these different types of relationships. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 2. Chapter 2. 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 12. That's not it. That's not it. Gosh, man, I had it too. I'll find it. Here we go. 2 Corinthians chapter 11. Verse 3. But I fear lest somehow as the serpent deceived Eve by his craftiness, so your minds may be corrupted from the simplicity that is in Christ. So this is a big statement here. He says that their minds got corrupted from the simplicity in Christ, the way the serpent deceived Eve. How did Satan deceive Eve? He said, let me get you focused on what you don't have. Let me show you what you're missing. And then because he showed them what he felt like you didn't have, then all her choices came from focusing on what she couldn't get. And seeing a lot of times that's what we do. We go into relationships looking at what we don't have, and we're trying to get somebody to meet that need, instead of going into it looking at the supply and what we can add to it. Because usually everything in Genesis, it says everything reproduces after its own kind, meaning that giraffes find giraffes, lions find lions, hyenas find hyenas, givers find givers, takers find takers. So if I'm going into it thinking about me, usually I'll find other people going into it thinking about them. Mm-hmm. And then therefore all they can see is what the other person is not giving. And they feel tired, but the other person feels exactly the same way. But because they feel justified in their side, that's why they think they're doing everything they're supposed to do. Because they basically say, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do to get what I want out of this. You're not giving it back. But if you always went into it looking at what you can, what you don't feel like you're missing, then a lot of times you'll go into it finding other people who want to add to the relationship and be able to serve, not to be served. Mm-hmm. And that was the whole thing, where God was serving them, but because she started looking at what she didn't have and focus on that, now she's trying to be served instead of serving in the way God told her to serve. Right. And that's to say Eve, but Adam ultimately, made the decision. But the point in making is that once you start focusing on, I'm not loved, I'm not happy, I don't have a companion, I don't have this and I don't have that, so let me go out and find somebody. That's the recipe for mismanaging. Friends, you don't call, you're not here. That's what we do. We accent what the other person is not doing. See, that lets you know that you're always going to go into it never happy in relationships. And that's that agape side, where you can start navigating the other ones. Where I got to now go into, I'll go into it and where I'm not complaining about what they're not doing, but I'm happy about what they are doing. And a lot of times those are relationships where you're going to start finding, fulfillment and all those type of things. All right, so we're going to hit the pause button here. God bless you. Again, hopefully these things were able to be helpful for you and give you some tools and some insights to be able to further help manage your relationships. And that's all I have to say. I just want to get the floor to Michelle unless she has anything last you want to say to it, and then we're going to close it out.
No, I'm good. You pretty much said it all this session. Okay.
All right, well, praise God. All right, well, God bless everyone. Y'all have a wonderful week, and we'll see you here next week.
Thank you for joining Pastor Wayne Powell Sr. for this edition of Relationship Wednesday. We hope you enjoyed this episode of After I Did. Let's keep the conversation going by leaving your questions and comments in the chat. We also invite you to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you are reminded to join us next Wednesday as Pastor Wayne continues this discussion of After I Did.